So at the time of filming, we are now officially past halfway in January, and there's not been a whole lot of movement in the January transfer window, at least in the Premier League. So today I'm going to go through every Premier League team and pick out one area where I think they need to improve if they're going to improve their chances of whatever their goal is, whether that's top 4, qualifying for Europe in some way, be it through the Europa League or the FA Cup, or just staying alive. So without further ado, here we go. Stop me if you've heard this before. Arsenal need help with their defense. Shockingly, David Luiz has not solved their problems. They really need to bring somebody in. They have William Saliba out on loan at Saint Etienne, where they purchased him from and then loaned him immediately back, but he's only 18 years old. I don't think he's the solution, so they've got to look elsewhere. There's no way Arsenal, although, Europe's gone for them this year, but even for long term, they need center back help and fast. They also need help at right back with Hector Bellerin continuing to struggle with injuries and Ainsley Maitland-Niles being more of a converted winger than anything else. He's just kind of a stopgap there. So all over the defense, Arsenal have problems. Where to start with Aston Villa? After a promising start to the season, everything has gone wrong for them, most notably John McGinn's injury, and he has proven to be the player who was making this side tick at all. And right now, you look at the Villains, they're headed straight for relegation at this point, so they could use everything, but they really need a striker. Wesley was struggling anyway, and now it looks like he might be out for the season injured, and they really don't have another option. They need somebody to come in there and score some goals. They're going to have to shoot their way out of this one if they have any chance of staying up. Bournemouth, this might be cliche, they need goals or they're going to get relegated. It doesn't matter where these goals come from, but they're tied for last with only 20 goals scored this season in 24 games. That's not going to cut it. Neither Callum Wilson nor Josh King seem to remember where the goal is. Dominic Solanke continues to be a massive flop at Bournemouth. Doesn't matter if they get a new striker, a winger who can score some goals. They need goals from anywhere or they're screwed. Continuing on a familiar theme here, up front, Brighton just aren't deep enough. Glenn Murray, the drop-off was going to come with him eventually. It looks like that's arrived, both in his ability to be consistently fit and to score when he's on the pitch. Neil Maupay, who they acquired from Brentford over the summer, he's been really good, but man, could that guy use some help. Brighton were playing some really nice, pretty soccer early in the season, but things have bogged down a bit for the Seagulls, and they just need more attacking depth. They can't rely on Maupay to do it all himself if they're going to avoid relegation and try to improve on where they finished last year, barely missing the drop. For Chelsea, you can check out my video where I look specifically at them that I posted alongside this one, taking a deeper dive into what the Blues might need, but their most pressing need is a left back. Marcus Alonso and Emerson not getting it done, and with Lampard consistently playing a back 4, they need a left back who can actually play defense. No offense to Cesar Azpilicueta, who can do well deputizing there, but long term, they'd rather a left-footed defender playing in that position, and they need to look toward the future when Azpilicueta can't just do it all for them anymore. Yes, I'm sure Crystal Palace could be helped by adding someone, but the most important thing for them to do is to not sell Wilf Zaha. Yes, he's not putting up the numbers that he has in the past couple of years offensively, but he is still the most integral and important part of this team. If Palace want to hang in there where they're at and secure another mid-table finish, they've got to keep Zaha around until the summer. It's been interesting to see who Carlo Ancelotti has picked at central midfield. Since taking over as Everton manager, I've been consistently confused by his choices. Gylfi Sigurdsson really is not suited to playing in a two-man midfield. He's more suited to a number 10 role, especially as he's getting older. Doesn't have tremendous pace to recover, and he was never that defensively inclined a player anyway. Tom Davies, Morgan Schneiderlin, and Fabian Delph have all filled in there as well, but none of them have been particularly impressive, and Jean-Philippe Gbamin, who they signed to replace Idrissa Gana Gueye, has been injured most of the season so far and hasn't gotten a chance to impress. It was obvious that replacing Gueye after he left for PSG was going to be difficult for Everton, but Ancelotti's got to bring in someone he trusts to be a solid number 6, a bit of a destroyer in the middle of the field and solidify Everton's spine, because the team just doesn't really have anybody they can rely on in that sort of position right now. Leicester are a club who I encourage to do nothing, just hang on to everything you have. Ben Chilwell has been linked with moves away. James Maddison continues to be linked with interest from elsewhere. There's so much young potential in this Leicester squad. Ricardo Pereira is establishing himself as one of the best right backs in the Premier League and maybe the world. They just really need to hang on to all their pieces if they're going to keep top four and continue cruising to what looks like is going to be a return to the Champions League. If anything, maybe at a center back, because if Evans or Soyuncu get hurt, that could be trouble. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This Liverpool team might be the best team in the history of the Premier League and is one of the elite teams in the history of professional soccer. They should do nothing. They're going to win the title, maybe even by the end of March. So just stay the course, trust the squad you've got, give young players a chance when the opportunity arises. And yeah, Jurgen Klopp and his men have got this pretty much wrapped up. So Man City went into this season with only 3 actual center backs on the roster: John Stones, Aymeric Laporte, and Nicolas Otamendi. Laporte's been hurt most of this season, although he should be back relatively soon, and Otamendi is well past the peak of his powers, so they've been using Fernandinho as a center back a lot. Rodri has played back there as well, so Man City, although the title might be gone, the Champions League and making sure they finish top 4 aren't. So they need to add a center back who is, actually a center back and who can provide some depth long term, even after Laporte is healthy. So the first part of this might be done by the time you see this video. Manchester United have been strongly linked with Sporting's Bruno Fernandes, making a move from Portugal to England. The latest rumors say that fee could be around £60 million, but they desperately need somebody better at the number 10 role than Jesse Lingard, who, how on earth is that man still a Manchester United regular? It really doesn't make any sense. So I know this first part doesn't really go along with the rest of the video, but just play Miguel Almiron as a number 10. He's starting to really heat up, and he's obviously better when he gets the ball in inside positions, cutting in from the wing where he keeps getting stuck by Steve Bruce on the outside of a super defensive 5-4-1. Get Almiron in the center of the field, get him on the ball, good things will happen, Newcastle, I promise you. Also, they might need another striker because Joel Linton has only scored 1 Premier League goal the entire season, and they just have strikers piling up. Joel Linton, Carroll, Muto, Gale, none of these guys are any good, Newcastle. Figure it out. Don't sell Emi Buendia yet? That's all I've got. I'm sorry, Norwich, you're kind of in trouble right now. Like Liverpool, the Blades should do nothing. It doesn't make any sense on paper how Sheffield and Chris Wilder have been this good this season, but damn it, they just need to keep doing whatever they're doing. Maybe add a striker, as none of the guys they've thrown in their front 2 have really impressed that much, but they're surviving anyway. I mean, if your opponent never scores, it's much harder to lose. So the Saints are on a pretty good run right now, which might make them inclined to just stick with what's going on right now and not change anything, but I think maybe they could be a little bit better on the wing. I mean, Stuart Armstrong, really? They have Musa Djenepo, who they signed in the summer, who's looked really impressive and promising in his minimal appearances. I don't know why the guy can't get on the field, but if you're going to keep going with Armstrong, maybe try to get better there. I don't expect the Saints to do anything. Doesn't look like they're going to get relegated. They should feel safe from that, which means they'll probably just see the rest of the season out and do it all again next year. So if I'd done this a couple weeks ago, it would have just been a right back because Serge Aurier, yikes. Kyle Walker-Peters hasn't stepped forward to establish himself either, and both short-term and long-term, Tottenham, especially for a defensive coach like Jose Mourinho, they're going to need a better right back. But also now with Harry Kane maybe being done for the season, I mean, Spurs can do the thing they did last year where they play, some mixture of Son, Mora, Dele, Eriksson, now Lo Celso, Sessegnon. They can play some combo of all those guys and just throw them up front, but they might want an actual striker, more of a traditional number 9, at least for some circumstances, or to throw on at the end of games when they get a goal. Mourinho doesn't appear to trust teenager Troy Parrott, so he needs to bring in someone, and it's not going to be Zlatan, but you got to be able to find somebody else who can score some goals, right? Much like Southampton, Watford have remembered how to play soccer again, so they might also be content to stick around. I still just think their defense could be better across the board. That entire back four could probably be improved upon. Maybe not Craig Dawson, he's had a really good first season with Watford, but otherwise, you could always have a stronger defense if you're the Hornets. Also, you might want more striker depth because Troy Deeney is not going to be this magician forever. Andre Gray behind him still looks woeful, and I don't know where his confidence has been lost to, but if Troy Deeney gets hurt, Watford could suddenly find themselves in some serious trouble again, so they might want to try to guard against that. West Ham and West Ham fans, you already know this, but you need another goalkeeper. Fabianski has been excellent this season, but he just got hurt again, and we saw what happened the first time he got injured. Yes, David Martin getting a clean sheet on his debut at Stamford Bridge. That was a cool moment, but last weekend we saw that he's still gonna have some issues. There's a reason he was out of work before, and Roberto might be the worst Premier League keeper literally ever, so if Fabianski's going to still be hurt for a while, West Ham need a keeper, and they need one fast. So Wolves is one of those teams that, like, if the starting 11's healthy, they look really good, but past that starting 11, you start to have some concerns. Both Willy Boly and Ryan Bennett have had injury issues this year on defense in that back three, and while Roman Zais has proved to be a capable deputy there, you'd want someone who's actually an out-and-out center back filling in for that position. So that's one option. The same could be said in midfield. Ruben Neves, Leandro Dendoncker, and João Moutinho have been an excellent trio in the engine room for Nuno Espirito Santo, but without any of them, I think Wolves lose a lot in terms of just the dynamism and balance of that midfield. So they might want to add some backup there as well. So some teams have really glaring issues, some teams just have a few things to clean up, and some teams can just enjoy saving their money, but most teams could do something here. There's many I think should, and if some of them don't, they'll have no one to blame for themselves if they don't achieve their goals. The only team I really think is gone at this point is Norwich. Villa and Bournemouth are not in a good spot, but I think with a couple additions they could be a lot better. At the other end of things, I mean, Liverpool got this. Man City look a pretty safe second as well. Leicester just need to hold on. Chelsea need to add. As for everybody else in the middle, yeah, you could probably all be better, but what's the difference between 15th and 9th in the grand scheme of things, right? I'm starting to sound like Mike Ashley and not wanting to spend money. If you're a fan of any of those middle teams, for your sake, I hope your club does something so that these next several weeks of soccer are at least worth paying attention to. So here's to a better 2020 for everybody. Oh, not you, Norwich, sorry. Yep, I forgot Burnley, which is kind of poetic, because is there a more forgettable team in the Premier League, or really in all of sports, than Burnley? All I'll say about them is please just bring in another central midfielder so we don't have to watch Danny Drinkwater ever again, because once was bad enough.